Would you believe that this special teams miscue would be the key iconic moment in one of the greatest upsets in college football history? Would you also believe that this epic meltdown by the Michigan Wolverines would set a cascade of events that would become one of the most volatile seasons in the history of college football? The Michigan Wolverines is considered one of the blue bloods of college football, and their reign amongst this elite and exclusive class was reinforced by their 2023 season, as they reeled off an impressive 15 consecutive victories, defeating the Alabama Crimson Tide in the playoff semifinal, who is considered the monarch amongst the blue bloods. After that tremendous victory over the Alabama Crimson Tide, they followed it up with a crushing defeat over the Washington Huskies, which crowned the Michigan Wolverines national champions for the 2023 season. This expectation of success has been the standard for the Michigan Wolverines for several decades. For example, in the 2006 season, the Wolverines rolled off an impressive 11-game win streak, but unfortunately, they fell to their hated rivals, the Ohio State Buckeyes, and that loss knocked them out of national championship contention. So in 2007, they were looking to build off of this momentum and achieve their ultimate goal of winning it all. Most teams in Michigan's position typically schedule their season opener from the Division I mid-major conferences, such as Kent State or Bowling Green, or even the lower-tier FCS Football Championship Subdivision, or commonly known as Division II, and examples of these teams are UT Chattanooga and Austin Peay State University. This is typically an easy warm-up game that yields absolutely no chance of losing key starters to injury, and in addition, there's absolutely no risk of losing the game to an FCS or a lower-tier mid-major opponent. But what happens when a powerhouse program schedules an FCS team that's loaded with athletes on both sides of the ball, and they fear absolutely no opponent, and in addition, they have 2 consecutive FCS national championships under their belt? Well, it leads to one of the greatest upsets within the history of college football. So remember, if you like this type of content, please be sure to like and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode of College Football Legends. In the previous 2006 season, the Mountaineers reeled off an impressive 14-1 record, winning their second consecutive FCS national championship. Even a 2-time FCS national champion was absolutely no match for one of the elite teams within the Big Ten Conference, such as the Michigan Wolverines or the Ohio State Buckeyes. Even though Appalachian State has experience playing teams within the Division I level, they were about to walk into Michigan Stadium that seats over 100,000 fans, and this particular game day environment has proved to be overwhelming for many teams in their position. Many Michigan Wolverine fans expected a routine beatdown, but instead, they were about to witness a Mountaineer team that was prepared for this moment and would put the entire college football world on notice. The Michigan offense was led by star quarterback Chad Henne and running back Mike Hart. This alone should have been too much for the Appalachian State Mountaineers. On the very first Michigan offensive possession, they marched the ball down the field on the Mountaineers, with Mike Hart's bruising 30-yard run, and he capped it off with a devastating 3-yard touchdown. This Michigan team came out of their corner like a powerful heavyweight, connecting with haymakers and direct blows to the Appalachian State defense. For many FCS teams, this quick and decisive touchdown would have set the tone for the remainder of the game. What many did not expect is that this team was prepared to trade blows with one of the heavy hitters in college football. On the ensuing possession, the Mountaineers had their share of stars on the offensive side of the ball, yet they were mostly unknown to the average college football fan. But they were about to make a lasting impression. On a 3rd down play, they're on their own 30-yard line, and star quarterback Armonte Edwards hits wide receiver Dexter Jackson on a slant route, and he blows by the defenders with his elite speed, taking it to the house for a 70-yard touchdown, tying the game up at 7 apiece. The Appalachian State coaching staff knew that they were capable of scoring points. However, if they were going to have any chance of staying competitive in this game, they were going to have to make some key stops on defense. On a 3rd down and 3 play, they dial up a blitz off the edge, and Pierre Banks, who led the team in tackles in the previous season, takes down Chad Henne for the sack, stopping their offensive drive and forcing Michigan to punt. On the next Appalachian State drive, the Michigan defense returned the favor by showing their strength at the line of scrimmage, putting pressure on quarterback Armonte Edwards and taking him down for a sack as well. Chad Henne and the Michigan offense makes the most of their next offensive possession as they methodically move the ball down the field, capping it off with a 17-yard reception from Adrian Arrington and finishing the drive with a 10-yard touchdown catch from Greg Matthews, giving the Wolverines a 14-7 lead early in the first quarter. Appalachian State continued to show their resilience as they too marched the ball down the field on the Michigan defense, and Armonte Edwards on a 3rd down play connects with wide receiver Josh Johnson, and he's hammered as soon as he catches the ball, yet he's able to hold on, giving his team a critical 1st down. Later in that same possession, the Mountaineers go deep in their playbook, running a reverse to wide receiver Dexter Jackson, as he nearly takes the ball down to the end zone, but steps out slightly before reaching the goal line. On the very next play, quarterback Armonte Edwards hits wide receiver Hans Badajan for the touchdown, tying the game up at 14 apiece. After yet another stalled Michigan offensive drive, they're forced to punt, and as wide receiver Dexter Jackson returns it, he's hit by a defender long after he stepped out of bounds, which results in a costly late hit penalty for Michigan, and excellent field position for the Mountaineers. After this penalty, with a very short field, it's 2nd down and 8. And quarterback Armani Edwards hits, you guessed it, wide receiver Dexter Jackson on another slant route, and he goes completely untouched into the end zone, taking a 21-14 lead. As Michigan failed to move the football on the following possession, they found themselves in a 4th down and 5 situation late in the second quarter. It would have been safe to punt. However, the urgency to respond to the onslaught from the Appalachian State offense forced Michigan to go for it on 4th down. As soon as Chad Henne takes the snap, he's blasted by defensive back Corey Lynch on a safety blitz, and this hit alters his pass as the ball falls harmlessly incomplete, and this failed 4th down conversion gives the ball right back to the Mountaineers. I want you to take one moment and remember this name Corey Lynch, because this won't be the last time we discuss this particular player. This turnover on downs proves disastrous for Michigan. Wide receiver Dexter Jackson is already responsible for 2 touchdowns on offense. Now the Michigan defense is about to experience the dual threat ability of quarterback Armani Edwards, as he puts the team on his back with a pair of quarterback keepers, finding the end zone and taking the lead 28-14 in the closing minutes of the first half. Despite Michigan taking the ball all the way down to the 6-yard line on the following possession, they're unable to find the end zone against an FCS defense, and they're forced to settle for a field goal as time expires in the first half. You can clearly hear the boos directed from the Michigan faithful, as they're absolutely upset as both teams make their way to the locker room for halftime. A team with preseason national championship hopes find themselves down 28-17 against an FCS opponent. The Michigan defense has had absolutely no answers for Armani Edwards and his lethal skill set as a dual threat quarterback. And wide receiver Dexter Jackson has completely lit up the Michigan Wolverines secondary. And to make matters worse, Michigan has failed to find rhythm on offense, as they've struggled to protect their quarterback Chad Henne, as he's constantly under pressure by this undersized yet fast Appalachian State defense. As bad as things have looked for the powerful Michigan Wolverines, many FCS teams in the past have started out hot, yet the war of attrition takes its toll. Many teams in Appalachian State's position have faltered due to lack of depth, and this lack of depth leads to fatigue, injuries, and self-inflicted miscues, which halts their momentum and plays right into the hands of the heavily favored opponent. If I were to tell you that Appalachian State would not score a single touchdown in the second half, many would conclude that Michigan would erase this 11-point deficit and escape with a hard-fought victory. However, we're about to witness one of the sloppiest third quarters, while simultaneously yielding one of the most historic outcomes in college football history. Appalachian State's first offensive possession in the third quarter, quarterback Armani Edwards commits his first critical error, giving Michigan the momentum they need to get back into the game. Edwards throws an ill-advised pass where it appears that he and the receiver are not on the same page, and it lands right into the hands of cornerback Morgan Trent for the costly interception. After that ill-advised throw from Armani Edwards that led to an interception, they find their way to get back on track as they're absolutely gashing the Michigan defense, as they have absolutely no answer for Armani Edwards' dual threat ability at quarterback, and he distributes the ball to a multitude of receivers as the Michigan defense is absolutely overwhelmed by the firepower of the Mountaineer offense. As Appalachian State is threatening to increase their lead, quarterback Armani Edwards hits freshman wide receiver Brian Quick on a wide open slant route. Unfortunately, he drops the ball in the end zone, yet Appalachian State settles for a field goal as they increase their lead 31-20. Appalachian State defensive end Jacques Roman makes a big play on defense as he strips the ball from the Michigan running back, giving the ball right back to the Mountaineers. Unfortunately, they failed to cash in on this offensive possession as they missed the field goal. And this isn't the only offensive miscue from Appalachian State, as Armani Edwards loses a fumble, giving the ball right back to Michigan. The third quarter of this historic game was also one of the sloppiest from both teams. Let's break this down. Of course, Appalachian State needs to hold on to the lead, and the Michigan Wolverines need to find a way to get back into this game. However, we've witnessed a missed field goal, a drop pass in the end zone, an interception, and a lost fumble from Appalachian State. And Michigan has lost a fumble as well. Michigan was able to capitalize at least on one of these Mountaineer turnovers, as Mike Hart found his way to the end zone, making the score 31-26 as we enter the final quarter of play. Despite Appalachian State's costly miscues in the third quarter, Michigan still trails by 5 points, yet they have the ball and a chance to emerge victorious if they achieve these objectives. First, they have to win the time of possession battle. Second, they have to keep Armani Edwards and that Appalachian State offense off the field. And last but not least, they have to stop committing costly turnovers. Yet, if they were to successfully achieve these objectives, I wouldn't be making this video.
Damn!
The very first Michigan offensive possession in the fourth quarter, they have already failed to achieve one of these objectives, as Chad Henne finds himself flushed out of the pocket by the Appalachian State pass rush. He throws the ball across his body, and defensive back Leonard Love breaks perfectly on the ball, intercepting it for the Mountaineers. Offensively for Michigan, they've had stalled drives, incomplete passes, and a multitude of turnovers as a result of Appalachian State's pesky yet relentless defense. I remember clearly watching this game at home thinking to myself, Michigan, you're a Big Ten team. Use your 300-pound lineman and impose your will on this much smaller opponent. Apparently, Michigan running back Mike Hart must have heard me yelling at my TV like an idiot.
I wish I had Marshawn up here. 1 yard. You need 1 yard. Run the ball. Run the ball!
Because he makes an outstanding individual effort, slashing through the Mountaineer defense on a 54-yard touchdown. This spectacular effort by Mike Hart gives the Michigan Wolverines their very first lead since early in the first quarter, making the score 31-32. Yet they do fail the 2-point conversion, which will come back to haunt the Michigan Wolverines. Despite how well Appalachian State had played most of the game, they made a critical turnover that should have played right into the hands of the Michigan Wolverines. Star quarterback Armani Edwards forces the ball right into the middle of the Michigan secondary and is intercepted. A fourth quarter turnover from an FCS team against the number 5 team in the country typically doesn't end well for the underdogs. After that costly Appalachian State turnover, Michigan takes the ensuing possession and they methodically drive the ball downfield while chewing up a significant amount of time off the clock as they hold on to a very slim lead. With yet another stalled Michigan offensive drive, they do find themselves within field goal range, and with 1 minute and 47 seconds left to play, this potential field goal could put the game out of reach for the Appalachian State Mountaineers. Unfortunately for the Michigan Wolverines, they're about to commit a pair of special teams blunders that's going to ruin their season and make college football history. As Michigan lines up for the field goal, the kicker doesn't get enough air under the ball and is blocked, giving Appalachian State one more opportunity to take the lead. This is a critical drive for the Appalachian State Mountaineers, and Armani Edwards makes some last-minute heroics as he marches his team down the field for 70 yards, with a quarterback scramble and a pair of spectacular catches from wide receiver TJ Corman and Coco Hillary. With 30 seconds left to play, they make a critical field goal, taking the lead 34-32. This has become a nightmare scenario for the Michigan Wolverines, as they find themselves trailing by 2 points against an FCS opponent with only 26 seconds left to play. And to make matters worse, they've had a pair of failed 2-point conversions that would have made all the difference in the score, and in addition, their passing offense has been absolutely terrible. As Michigan finds themselves on their own 35-yard line, in a last-ditch effort, quarterback Chad Henne bombs the ball to future NFL draft pick and All-American Mario Manningham for a spectacular 45-yard reception, which gets the ball down to the 20-yard line and within field goal range. All-American wide receiver Mario Manningham had been quiet most of the game, but this spectacular catch gives his team one more chance to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. With only 6 seconds left, as Michigan lines up for a critical field goal that could potentially win the game as time expires. And as the ball is snapped, well, I'll let you watch for yourself.
Out of the hole to Mesco. Good snap, good hold. And the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
Remember that defensive back Corey Lynch who made that critical turnover earlier in the game? Well, his heroics makes history once again, as he not only breaks to the line blocking the field goal, he recovers it and takes it all the way down to the 8-yard line, nearly scoring a touchdown. Everyone in that stadium, including the entire city of Ann Arbor, Michigan, was absolutely stunned. Meanwhile, in Boone, North Carolina, there was absolute pandemonium as the student body paraded through the streets, and it is even reported that some students stripped down to their birthday suits and jumped in the local lake near campus. As the final score was displayed while Ohio State and Penn State season opener games were in progress, those fans erupted in celebration at their hated rivals' tragic and epic downfall. Michigan would suffer yet another crushing defeat at the hands of the Oregon Ducks. However, they would reel off 6 consecutive wins and finish their season with a respectable 8-4 record. Appalachian State would take this momentum and win their 3rd consecutive FCS national championship. They have since moved up to the Division I level as a member of the Sun Belt Conference, and they have had multiple 10-plus win seasons, and they remain one of the most feared mid-major programs in college football. This, of course, is one of the biggest upsets in the history of college football. As a 33-point underdog, Appalachian State dominated a perennial powerhouse in their own backyards and etched their names in the college gridiron history books. This Appalachian State team would be the very first team in history as an FCS Division II opponent to finish the season ranked in the AP Top 25. This epic upset early in the 2007 season would set off a cascade of events that would become one of the most volatile and insane seasons in the history of college football. And if you'd like to see how this 2007 season played out, I want to recommend one of my favorite content creators by the name of KTO. He perfectly explains this season, and of course, I'll leave a link to that particular video in the description below. That's it for today's video, and this concludes our 5-part series of the biggest upsets within college football history. I'd like to continue this discussion, and please give your thoughts about this particular game in the comment section below. There were so many upsets over the years that any of them could have made this countdown, and I'm considering making a bonus video covering some of those honorable mentions. I hope you enjoyed watching this video just as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And if you found value in this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And by subscribing, you'll never miss an episode of College Football Legends when we celebrate the unforgettable players and moments that define the sport we love. Until next time.